In the last 8 or so years, we've consulted over 700 digital and creative agency owners and service providers ranging from $100,000 a year to $5 million a year. And these are the 5 lies that are keeping them stuck. And if you're new to my channel, my name is Greg Hickman. I'm the founder of Alt Agency. And for the last 10 years, I've been building my own business after spending the first decade of my career working in both large and boutique agencies. And our agency was doing marketing automation behind the scenes of big names like Dan Martell, John Lee Dumas of Entrepreneur on Fire, and more. And over the last 7 years, we've been actually training and consulting other agency owners on how to systematize, productize, and scale. Lie number 1 is that you cannot let go and or transition out of your existing legacy clients. I get it. There's probably clients that you have that have been paying your bills and probably have been working with you for a while now. Maybe they've even become friends. And it's really difficult to go have conversations with them about where your business is going because that future vision might not actually be something that includes them. And the reality is that we're always building 2 businesses. The first business is the business that we have right now, and the second business is the business that we want to have in the future. And so if your future business has you operating and offering different things, or at least more refined and productized, and your current legacy clients are not that, we need to create some sort of transition plan out. I know that when I personally had conversations with a handful of the clients that we knew were kind of holding us back, they were very open because they were entrepreneurs as well. We created a transition plan, some of which were 60 days, some of which were 3 months. It gave us a runway of winding down the revenue that we had been relying on while replacing that revenue with new clients that fit the future vision of our business. In my interview with Rob, which you can check out in the description below, he even shares that he had conversations with many of his clients, some of which it was, hey, it's time we have to part ways and let's have a transition out, which gave him a timeline that was realistic versus them just upping and leaving. But there were also a few clients that fit the mold of where he wanted to go. They just needed to restructure how the engagement was, what was included and how much they were paying. And so he was able to have those candid conversations. And for many of them, there was a win-win, and he kept more clients than he was kind of expecting, even though he was changing how the service was going to be delivered. So the number 1 lie holding many agency owners back from growth is that they don't think that they can let go of the clients that got them to where they're at. Now, the second lie that holds most agency owners back from growing and building a business that they love is thinking that my clients always want custom services. Now, I get it. As a traditional agency model, which I came from and maybe you came from, it's very easy to hold on to all of your expertise and respond to RFPs or do an audit and then figure out, client A needs this, client B needs that, and have every single client that comes in be unique, be a bespoke solution. But the reality is when you operate that way, you kind of become stuck just because you're doing whatever it is the client wants. Back to being stuck to those legacy clients, when you don't know where the next client is coming from, sometimes you'll just let the scope of work expand with those legacy clients because you don't know where the next one's coming from and you don't want to lose the current income that you have. And so naturally you became a custom solution provider for each and every client. But here's the thing, if you actually start selling an outcome, like an actual result, or even a system to get a specific outcome, you kind of go back into control. So you get to go find clients that want that specific outcome and say, hey, if you have this problem, I can solve it. This is why productizing your service is so important. What is a product? It is a fixed outcome with a fixed timeline with a fixed price. And when you have that, you don't need to go do audits or figure out, oh, you need this, I'll give you that. You need this different thing, I'll give you that. You get to just go and say, hey, I work with this type of business that has this problem. And if you productize correctly around the skill sets that you're really best in class at, you will find that you're commonly solving a handful of problems that a lot of other businesses that look just like your ideal client also have. And so you don't have to be custom. You can actually just sell a specific outcome. And especially in a market like we are in right now, where there's high skepticism, the buying decision is a little bit slower. If you're trying to solve large, multifaceted problems, it just becomes a more difficult sale. But if you say, hey, we solve this specific problem for this specific type of person, and I can get you that outcome in this time frame, the sale becomes a lot easier because the outcome is something that's more tangible. Your prospects can see it, they can grasp it. Whereas a lot of full service agencies that solve a variety of problems that take 6 to 12 months to solve, it's very hard for your prospects to see what getting that result will actually look like and feel like in their business. business. So instead of going custom, you can actually look at the services that you have, the skill set that you have, and look at the problems that it typically solves for your ideal clients and make sure that it's a high value one, and package up your services to solve a specific problem that delivers a fixed outcome, and watch your sales cycle change. Now, the third lie that most agencies tell themselves is that I cannot remove myself from fulfillment as the founder. Now, look, I'll be the first to say we've all been in a spot where we say, look, it'll just get done faster if I do it, which means we don't delegate it to a team member. We don't go hire someone to help us. We just take it on because I don't have the time to go train this person. I don't have the time to go find and hire this person. I might as well just do it myself. But when it comes to growing an agency, at some point, you need to be able to work through people. In fact, if you're an agency owner and you are a consultant or service provider, the business of agency is actually being able to recruit and hire talent, because you're selling expertise. Now, you're selling expertise via implementation, but if you want to serve more people, you need more bodies that can do the implementation. Thus, you need to be able to transfer your expertise and your methodology to other people, even if you're hiring help, because there's going to be a ceiling and a cap on how many people you can physically serve, and then the business becomes dependent upon you. So if you've been saying, well, I can't remove myself from fulfillment, we need to kind of go back and look at the last lie, because many of these lies actually stack on top of each other. And when you offer bespoke solutions, it's almost like you're guaranteeing that you have to be the person to do it because you're too close to the client. You know exactly what they need. But when you go to say, hey, I actually solved this specific problem, my offer is productized, finding talent that you can delegate certain parts of your process to become way simpler. And again, when your service is custom, finding talent, recruiting talent, hiring talent becomes not only costly because you need to go hire experts for things you don't know enough about, but it's really difficult to train. And so if you're still developing as a leader and now you're stacking on all of the burden of, well, now you got to figure out how to train and onboard new talent to take stuff off your plate, you're adding complexity to your business, oftentimes at a stage that's way too early for where you need to be doing that, when you could have simply just gotten more productized and solved fewer problems and have a specific solution, one core offer that is your core capability. Because if it's your core capability, it's going to be way easier to train and know if someone's good at it. If you always sell the same service over and over again, don't you think it would be easier to hire people to help you when every single client moves through the exact same motion, the exact same process? Now, of course, the outcome that they get, the results, the work, the creative will be customized to that person, but we can't be giving, this client over here deliverables A, this client over here deliverables B, this client over here deliverables C, because that creates too much operational complexity for you to be able to go hire people. Now you have two full-time jobs, recruiting and the actual service delivery. When we focus down on who we serve and what we sell, hiring and all that stuff becomes a lot simpler. The time to get things off your plate becomes simpler because you're constantly refining a process that you do over and over and over again. Lie number 4 is when that you believe as the founder that you are the only person that can onboard new clients, or that you have to be the point of contact for each and every new client. Now, we had this client, Chris, who used to fly around the country 40 some odd times a year, saying the same thing to each and every single person, mainly because he thought that they needed him. When he'd go and try and hire other people, he would go hire experts that had their own strategic way of doing things. And so the outcome wasn't exactly the same and clients weren't very happy. What he had to actually do was unpack his process so that it could be taught and create a repeatable onboarding process. And so once you have a roadmap of, hey, this is what happens when, this is when we do this is when we do that, and you can not only walk your client through that in onboarding, but also show them that they're not buying any one person, they are buying an outcome, and that outcome has a repeatable roadmap, they will start to trust the process and understand that it's not about any one individual. And it all starts with you as the leader, you as the founder. If you empower your team and you let your clients know that the fastest way for them to get the result and the best way for them to get support inside of this process is via this person that you trust and have trained, they will start to trust that person. You have to transfer the trust and the authority that you've developed over time with your market to your team and reinforce that the best service, the fastest service, the outcome that they came to you for will happen faster and more effectively if your team runs the process. So first we have to unpack what our onboarding looks like. And we've done plenty of videos on onboarding, so you you can check out our channel on that. But onboarding is actually one of the first things that you can probably delegate inside of your customer service delivery, because when you sell your core capability and you sell every single client and you move them all through the same process, it's really a matter of choreography and reps, getting your team to follow the exact same steps that you do. Now, you might not realize it, but inside of your head, you probably do many of the same things over and over and over again. And if you are still doing custom solutions, that's probably why you can't have an onboarding process. Again, why all of these lies stack on top of each other. Of course, it's difficult to train someone on how to onboard a client when each and every client gets something different. But when each client is buying the same thing, the same outcome, having a choreographed, systematic, repeatable process that every single client can go through is not only doable, but it's also one of the first things that you can delegate, unlocking a ton of time and freedom for you to focus on growing the business. Now, the fifth lie that most agencies tell themselves that keep them stuck is that they need to always be on and available for clients, which usually leads to working nights and weekends. We had this client, Josh, who would constantly take client calls while trying to attend his children's soccer game. And he even shared a story of how he almost missed his son's first goal ever because he was dealing with an angry client on a Saturday. Here's the deal. You get to set the standard as the founder. People are buying into you, your expertise, and the outcome that you can deliver. So the value that the client actually gets from you is not the fact that they're going to be able to call you whenever they want. Now, you might think that, they might even say that, but you could be available all you want. And if you still don't deliver on the result, they're going to fire you, right? They're going to be unhappy. So what do they really value? They really value on, can you do what you said you were going to do? Now, knowing that, we as the leader, the founder, we need to set the guide rails. We need to say, this is how we work. This is how we play the game. Here is how we're going to move through the process. We work with our clients on developing what we call a communication cycle. And this is clearly communicating to your client when, how frequently, on what platform, for how long you guys talk about different things. When do you get reports? What is an emergency? What deems you texting me or calling me? By the way, most clients should never actually even need your cell phone number at all. You should have other forms of communication where they can reach out and share that there's an emergency that allows you to have a systematic way to respond. And quite frankly, the reality is if you're growing a team, 9 times out of 10, them contacting you isn't even going to be the fastest solution. It's going to be contacting your team because they're going to have the bandwidth to go support them anyway. So you do not always need to be on and or available for your client. And more so, you can actually set the expectations of when you will be available and when you will not, and how and where and when they should reach out if they need help, and how and when and how frequently you will be connecting with them to make sure they are getting what they came for. So those are the top 5 lies that are keeping most agency owners stuck from growing a business that they love and scaling to the heights that they want to get to. I want to know in the comments, what other lies have you told yourself that maybe I didn't mention? Now, the reality is you probably made many of these mistakes. I know I did. We're all human, and this is how we learn. But the reality is I had to acknowledge that something had to change. And once I did, I was able to put together a plan. And so if you want the exact same plan that I put together, that I followed, that we now have taken our clients through time and time again, then check out this video because I walk you through the 5 stages of growth that every single agency owner has to go through.